Good afternoon, everyone. Super excited to have you guys on today. Thanks so much for being here. Ooh, lots of familiar faces. I know we have training rooms that are hooked up that are watching also. I think I see Joan in the training room. So really excited to have you guys today. Hi, Brittany. Oh my gosh, Brittany's on. We have a very special guest today, and she's a dear friend of mine. Many of you guys already know her, so I don't even feel like she needs a huge introduction, but we're super blessed to have the one and only Dianna Kokoszka on today to share. And Dianna is going to talk about, she has a new book coming out. She's going to talk about mindset, and then we're going to talk about her book. And we would love for you guys to pre-order her book. It's available in October, but pre-order now, right, Dianna?
That's correct. In fact, I heard from the publisher. I did not know how publishers work yet. They said sometime now in October. Could be October 31st for all I know. It could be a great Halloween gift. a little scary. I don't know.
Well, thank you so much for being here. We're really excited to have you share today. So I'll let you kind of take it away.
Okay, well, first of all, Dana, thanks for having me. I've got to tell y'all, when Dana asked me to do this, yes, just leaped out of my mouth because I just love her so much. She's such a great leader and she cares so much for the people. And I love anybody that loves people and uses things and never uses people and love things, right? Because a great leader never gets the two confused. So just the fact of who she is and her character, I couldn't help but say yes. Now came the time of when can I do it? And she was so gracious to work with me and give me a few times to choose from. And the more she told me about all of you, the more I was excited about being on this call today, not just for her, but just to add value. See, every day my phone goes off at 7 a.m. and it says, what will you do today to add value to people? And then at 7 p.m. it goes off just like an alarm and it says, what did you do today to add value to people? Because that's one of the things that I desire to be known for, is to add value and to bring value to people to make a difference in their life. Because if we're not making a difference, it really doesn't matter what we're doing. If it's all about us, it's a little bad, right? So I looked up your mission statement because I wanted to know who I was speaking with. And it said that our people will make an impact in something greater than themselves. And I love that. And instantly my mind went to, well, I know what impact means to me, yet what does impact really mean? So, of course, I went to my friend Google and asked, what does impact really mean? And it says the force or impression of one thing on another, a significant major effect. And I thought, wow, to do that in real estate, to make a major effect on someone else to where they had no doubt in their mind that every time they did real estate, they would come to you. And then, of course, I read the vision to be the most impactful organization in our community and in the lives of our agents. And I thought, my goodness, not only do we want to make a great impression on the outside world, we want to make an impression on the inside world of each and every agent, therefore building a great team that makes an impression on the entire city. So to give value, to be you, and to work hard. Now, I'd love to be able to tell you that it's so easy and so simple, yet you already know that that doesn't work because, well, life is messy. It gets very messy. Yet if I were to ask you, do you want something different in your life? Do you want something to be better, to be improved? Are you in a place where maybe you don't even know what you want because the market's changing from day to day? It'd be nice if I could tell you, well, being different is very simple. Really not. And yet it does start out with simplicity by making a choice. That's where it all starts. Because one thing I know for certain is to make your life better, you've got to enter through the gateway of different. So what are you willing to do different today than you did yesterday? See, yesterday, Tony and I were speaking about some of the things that we did different. And it was always looking for things that nobody else was doing in real estate to set ourselves apart, to make that impact on the people that we touched. And it was crazy little things, nothing that you're not aware of, like adding more names to our database, making certain we reached out to them more, writing thank you cards. In fact, one of the things I thought about that was so insignificant to me, and yet until people started talking about it, I didn't realize how significant it was. And that was, I had a thank you card written when I went to the listing appointment. And if I took the listing, of course, I put a PS, something personal about those people that I enjoyed, and I would drop it off by the post office on the way home that night. Well, being in the same city, they generally got it the next day or the day after, and they'd go, how did she do that so fast? And it told them unconsciously that I was efficient, I was proactive, and I was a hard worker. So what are you telling people to where subconsciously they get it and then consciously remember it? Because see, you can't get to better until you get to different. So I want you to think back. I was talking to Dana and Linda about this when we were all in North Carolina. It was so much fun. Let me just tell you, if you want a power shopper, you go with Dana, right? If you want somebody to say, hey, I told her I want a white jacket. That's all I really need to buy, and something for my grandkids to bring home. Well, I got to tell you, Dana found more white jackets than I even spotted. I mean, she was like on a mission to go forward. And I thought, man, that lady has it. I'm going to tell her, if I was an agent, I'd be telling her what my goals were, because doggone it, she'd make darn good and sure I made those. So if you're not sharing your goals with Dana, be certain to do that, because this lady makes things happen. In fact, I've always bragged about having the best degree ever. My degree is a GSD degree, and I know Dana has one of those as well. What is a GSD degree? It's get stuff done. Now, there are times I don't use the word stuff, you know what I use, but that's okay. It just means that we get it done and we have fun doing it. And as I thought about different, I thought about what I was talking with Dana about: Radio Shack, Blockbuster, Sears. What do all of those names have in common? Well, some of you aren't old enough to really remember them, maybe, yet I frequented those shops and they all went under. How did they go under? Especially with Blockbuster, who was offered to buy Netflix. Why didn't they buy it? Because they thought they had it all mastered. They knew they had the right answers and they did not want to do anything different. Because see, maybe they thought that being consistent was that psychological protection, that everything would keep going exactly like it was before. And that's what happens with a lot of agents. The market starts shifting, only they're not watching that market. They're not looking at how many homes are on the market every single day, how many sold yesterday. Because see, I believe, just my belief, if you're not tracking your numbers daily, do you really know the market? An agent say, well, Dianna, I track it monthly. Well, I'm sorry, a lot can happen in a month, right? I mean, think about life. What's happened in maybe a month of your life that you didn't like? And it happens like that. Maybe a diagnosis, got it like that. Maybe a cure like that. I don't know what it is. Yet if we're not watching that market daily, knowing the number of homes that are on the market, and when you're out there on the listing and you say to the seller, you know, well, just out of curiosity, what's your plan B? And they always looked at me and went, plan B? We want to sell our house. Well, yeah, what if it doesn't sell? Oh, no, our house will sell. Yes, it will if it's priced right. So let me show you your competition. Right now, currently in Denver, Colorado, there are however many thousands and hundreds of homes on the market. Now, in your price range, and I took every price range and said how many homes were on the market. And of course, you know the distinction of where you should take the price ranges at. And you tell them, this is your competition. Just because you think the home down the street is your competition, that's not right. And by the way, agents, you may think other realtors are your competition. And I got to tell you, that's not true. Whoever told you that is really lying to you. I hate to tell you. Your competition is Amazon that can get it there in a few hours or the next day. Your competition is any company out there that delivers great service. And so we look at what those other companies are doing and we say, what can I do differently that puts me in that same category of one of those companies? By the way, Amazon sends us how many emails a day and nobody complains. Oh, some of you may have opted out, yet most agents go, oh, I'm not going to send an email every other week to my database. They won't like me. Well, I'm sorry. Last time I checked, Amazon sends me about 4 a day and I still keep using them. So see, sometimes different lives in our head in a negative way versus a positive way. I do know one thing, unless we think of different, we're not going to move forward. That impact that we think we're making may be taken away from us. And we'll never know exactly what's going on unless we're willing to do something different and make a few mistakes, because difference starts with a choice. Now, what I'm going to talk about from here on out, I want you to know the best metaphor I can even think about to explain to you how all this is going to start coming together within your mind, especially in your subconscious mind, is it happened on a day. It was in July 2021, and I was heading back home with John Maxwell and a few others on a jet that we were coming from Brazil back to the US, to Miami. And boy, I looked down and I saw this river, and it reminded me of the mighty Amazon because it goes through the South America countries, right? And I thought, that is the largest river in the world. The mighty Amazon is what it's called. I thought, how is that formed? Because see, you as an agent, you start out small and then you become mighty. You don't start out mighty and go to small, or at least I hope you don't. The Amazon is made up of 2 rivers. One is the Solomos. Now, the Solomos comes down from the high mountains, and what happens is they come through the Andes Mountains and it winds along and it picks up all this sediment and all this mud, and it becomes very, very dark, right? And murky in color. Now, the Rio Negro is another river that flows in and makes the Amazon. The Rio Negro, though, goes through the lush green parts of South Africa, and it comes out clear. It's just the most beautiful river you've ever seen. And yet, when these two come together, much like different and what you're doing now, all of a sudden, it looks very interesting. In fact, I've got a picture here for you to look. Those are those 2 rivers coming together. You could almost draw a line right down those rivers. And as it churns and it keeps going and going, and pretty soon, miles later, making up the mighty Amazon, it becomes one river that is the same color as it continues out to the ocean. So when you start changing something, it's a little murky and muddy at first, and you're not real clear how it's going to work out. Yet as it starts flowing and churning together and you get better and better at it, all of a sudden you've become different in a better way, different in a way that really helps your clientele. Now, the interesting part to me is every one of you have a story. And this story is what's got you to where you're at right now. The story that you continually tell yourself, and more importantly, others. And what happens is many people do not understand that the story that you are telling, you created. Oh, a lot of people, they want to blame other people. And yet the moment, my dad always told me this, Diana, the moment you point the finger at somebody else, you got 3 fingers pointing back at you and only 1 pointing at them. So odds are 3-1, it's your own fault. Take responsibility and move forward as quickly as you can. Now, as we think about that, if we're the creator of our story and we go, well, I didn't create that. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. Yet maybe that was something to catapult you into different. And that's what it took to literally, you're going to be different now. And so now you get to create a new story. You are the creator. You are the character of the story, or at least I trust that you're the main character. Heaven forbid, I would hate to have you be an extra in somebody else's story. Yet you're also the crusader that gets to tell your story and promote your story. And then, of course, you're the champion of the story that you choose to have. So in every story, it's very interesting. What are those characters that show up in the story? And I want to look at that one in particular, because you already know that you need to pick up the pen and start writing your own story. Shoot, I taught that for years. Yet right now, today, all these stories, day after day, that you have developed, that you have created, if it were in a book, how would it read? Would it read like an adventure? Would it read like a business book, a leadership book? Would it be a fairy tale? Maybe a romance novel? I don't know what kind of stories that you're creating or what kind of book you're creating called the book of your life. Yet you create it, and you get to choose what character you're going to play. See, every story has a victim. That's the one we feel sorry for. They have a villain. That's the one that you cannot stand. I mean, we dislike the villain. We boo for the villain, right? And then, of course, we have a hero that we cheer for because they're the ones that save the day. You can also become a coach in your own story where you help others and you stretch people's thinking, helping them to think bigger and accomplish more. Or you could be a mentor. And the mentor, of course, you're going to teach people with wisdom and all of the things that you've learned throughout your career that would help them. So I don't know what character that you desire to play. I can tell you that the victim tells stories of someone that wronged them. The villain, they tell stories of how they overcame somebody. The hero, of course, tells story of overcoming challenges, achieving, being productive, success and growth. And the coach, well, it's about advancement of other people. It's about helping production of other people, having people go from breakdowns to breakthroughs. And then, of course, the mentor, well, they share stories of the wisdom, personal stories of things that have happened with them that others can learn from. Yet what I want you to get out of this today, and a lot of people go, well, what does this have to do with real estate? It has everything to do with real estate. Because what story is it that you're telling? Are you intentionally creating a great story? If I said to you, if you have a team, what's the story of your team? If I were to ask you what's the story of your market center, what would you tell me? And would it be a story of triumph and advancement? Would it include some mistakes that have been made along the way? I don't know, because it's your story. Yet I do know that by being intentional, we stay out of victim and villain, allowing us to be our own hero. In fact, many years ago, where this came about was, I used to play outside. I know a lot of kids don't do that today, yet we used to play kick the can and all sorts of things. And we just dreaded 4 words that my parents seemed to say every single night. And they would come to the door and scream out saying, it's time for bed. And those 4 words I did not like. I didn't want to hear them. And yet then sometimes they were followed by 4 other words. And those 4 words I loved. It was let's tell a story. Well, my grandmother was a great storyteller. And she was talking about David Copperfield. She was reading from us the book David Copperfield, and where it came to the fact that you can be the hero of your own life. I went, what? I mean, the heroes that I knew were in comic books, right? I mean, I had chosen Wonder Woman because her name was mine, and Dianna, right? So I kind of grabbed hold of her and said, yeah, I want to have the lasso of truth and to help people and take a stand for their greatness. And I knew the hero, yet how could I be the hero of my own life? I went, oh my gosh, I have no idea what's going on. And the more I thought about that, the more I wondered if I could get something from somebody that could help me be that hero. And that's what I want for you. I want the hero to be, oops, you can see a hand coming in there as she was grabbing something off of my desk here. Let's get that going and give that to her. So how are you going to become the hero of your own life? And how are you going to tell the story that you're going to tell, right? Well, one of the things is to choose the character that you desire to be. So I'm going to show you this slide. It's actually in the book. Because see, everything in our life will either limit us or liberate us. And the limiting characters that we have in our life, we get to choose. Oh, somebody may cast you into that part, yet you get to decide if you're going to continually play that part. Are you going to be the target, the whipping post, the fall guy, the prey? I don't know. Are you going to be the villain who's bullying people? I don't know. I don't even like to talk about those. Yet there are people out there, you probably even know some. Yet the hero, are you going to be the one that overcomes whatever faces you, the achiever, the rescuer of your own story, the warrior, the champion, and then go on to being a coach, to motivate other people, to strategize with them, to equip them. And then, of course, being the mentor that you help people choose things to do, choose wisely, and help them become so much more than they are right now. Well, how do we do this? And how do we think about all of this in the future? Because that's the important part for us. We're going to think about the characters that we want to be. And as we think about those characters, I'm sure you already have one in your mind as to which one you want to be. It starts out with being the hero. You got to be the hero of your own life before you can be a coach for somebody else. And then being a coach doesn't make you a mentor. It just helps you become a mentor, right? And I want you to think about the fact that you never change things by fighting the existing reality. You change them by building a new story that makes the existing story obsolete. So I'm going to challenge each of you to sit down and write out the story of your life that you'd like to have. What is it, the story that you would desire to have? In bold, had you write a letter 1 year from now? What is it like? What's been accomplished? That's called future pacing of your life. And yet, did you just do it once in bold, or are you still doing it? Are you doing it 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Your story's going to change when you're willing to learn, to implement, be willing to make mistakes, and then relearn a better way. Yet many people aren't willing to do something new because they don't want a new story. They think it's up to somebody else to create the story for them. Maybe the team leader, maybe the company, I don't know. Yet when you say, I'm going to be my own hero, I'm going to create my own story, I'm going to be the main character, the crusader and the champion, things change. So let's look at how we can adapt our thinking. Because see, by the way, you've taught your brain to think how it thinks right now. And you can retrain your brain to think the way you desire it to think. All up to you. The adaptive learning model that is in my book, and it looks very simple, and yet it's very profound when you think about it. It says that you learn something, you implement what you learn, then you fail at it, And if you don't fail at least once, you didn't stretch yourself enough, right? And then you make corrections, learning a new way, implementing the new way, failing at that, then making corrections, and your entire life keeps going this way. And as you build your business, you look back and you go, yep, every single one of those things I've done. I continually learn, which gives me better things to implement. Now, I want you to know that Albert Einstein, who was a mentor of mine, and I'm not that old, yet I read everything I could about Einstein because he had such great quotes and he had such a great way of thinking. And he said that the world we created, the world as we created it is a process of our thinking. It cannot be changed without changing our thinking. So everything in life begins with a thought, right? And many of us have ants in our heads. I know you probably played that game with your kids or nephews and nieces. It's called ants in your pants. But most people have ants in their heads. What do I mean by that? Dr. Damon told us, or Daniel Adam, I'm sorry, I've got names incorrect. Dr. Amen told us.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it Dr. Amen? Yeah.
Yes. The one that Linda and I went and had our brain scans done by. It was so much fun. And of course, talking with him, and he allowed me to put this in the book. And he gave me a lot of guidance and direction on the way that we think. But ants stand for automatic negative thoughts. And so many of us have those automatic thoughts just popping into our head all the time. And yet those thoughts build cages. We live in cages that we build ourselves based upon our thoughts. See, the bars of those cages are the thoughts that you have every day. And that cage is your comfort zone. Yet every opportunity that you can even imagine or want in your life is outside that cage that you have so carefully built for yourself. Are you willing to open up the cage door and let that potential out? Are you willing to become the very best that you can be? I mean, after all, we're all designed to be great. So why do we self-sabotage ourselves by thinking mediocre thoughts about who we are or the experiences that we have? What is it that makes us dwell on that negative? Because if you can dwell on the negative, you can dwell on the positive. Yet, I don't know about you, I know many people that I coached and spoke with that I desired so much greatness for them. They came back with things like, I would tell them how great they were and they would make something up and go right to the negative. And I'd go, don't dismiss the positive. Keep the positive in your mind, always staying humble, knowing that you didn't do it yourself, right? Yet those negative thoughts can literally sabotage you, keeping you from your greatness. And they make you feel very insecure. And the energies that we need in life are the energy of confidence, optimism, being present, and that energy of gratitude. And when you have those energies, you're going to be successful. So let me ask you a question. How much comfort do you get from staying inside that cage in your comfort zone? Where has it gotten you? Are you somebody that wakes up every day wondering what you can do different? I know Eleanor Roosevelt said, do something that scares you every single day. And I get up in the morning and I go, what can I do that scares me? And I thought sometimes it's looking in the mirror because I'm getting older and wrinkles are showing up. Yeah, what is it that you do? Now, some people didn't think that was as funny as I did. Dana, at least you laughed. That was good, right? Yet,
not true, but it's fun. It was funny, but it's not true.
Some ways it's so fun that people actually have to push us or kick us outside our comfort zone, because sometimes we justify it because we love the status quo. We don't stay in that status quo. We actually seek out other people that will comfort us in that. So have you ever thought about what the problem is that you're facing every day? I asked this one time in a class. I said, if you could change one thing about your business, what would it be? No, my goodness, they wrote down things from lead generation to team members to all sorts of things. Yet not one person in a class of over 100 wrote down me. When I change, everything will change. And that's the true answer. Because see, everything in your life changes when you do. As you get better, your business gets better. As you get better, your family gets better. As you get better, your finances get better. Every single thing starts with you. So when you look in the mirror, if you say affirmations, I love affirmations. Yet when you look in the mirror and say affirmations, you say you are, like you're talking to that person in the mirror. When you're not in front of a mirror, you say I am. And that way, it literally helps create new neural pathways in your brain and helps you start thinking different. Because too many people live in the past. They live in the listing that they didn't get last week. It's over. Call them, find out what you can do better, and move on. Because see, the good news is that we are hardwired in a way that we can change the way we think. We can change the production that we have. We're in charge. The profound truth, indeed, it's a principle of life that many people don't even want to hear. And that's that everything you truly desire is outside that cage, outside your comfort zone, that you literally, your brain fights to keep you in. You got to break the boundaries of that invisible cage that you've built. Now, my advice is that you take it was an anonymous person that said it. I wish I could definitely tell you who it was, but it says anonymous in Google. It says, step so far outside your comfort zone that you don't even know how to get back. And that's where we need to be in real estate, especially. It starts with how you think. So what if you want to change your thinking? Well, there's a process. So I'm going to show you another model. And a lot of people, when I show this model, they say that's so cumbersome. And yet it happens this fast when you're intentional about changing your thinking. First of all, you notice the thought, then you ask questions. Sorry, hit the wrong button there. Ask questions, and then you choose your new thought that you desire, and then you focus on that new thought. Now, what questions do you ask? That's the part that you've got to train your brain to ask them like this. And your brain is fast enough that it will do that because your brain loves efficiency, right? So what questions do you ask? And there's two ways to ask questions. So we'll bring this slide back up. And it says, if those questions are in regards to how you personally are thinking, you're going to ask the questions, who would I be without that thought? And how would I feel without that thought? Because we bring emotions and thinking together to actually make it go into our unconscious mind. If the thought about is what's happening, like maybe the market, maybe something on your team, then you ask, is it absolutely 100% true? And how do I act when I believe that thought? Who would I be without that thought? How would I feel without that thought? And then choose the thought that you desire. And every time that you desire that thought, if you start going back the old way, snap your fingers and your brain will actually recall what it is that you want to make certain happen. So with all of this, and of course, I'm going very, very quickly, I've got to tell you, what started this book was many, many people writing to me saying, when are you going to write a book? And of course, I kept putting it off and kept doing more and more research, wanting to know exactly how the brain works and how it functions and how we can change it. Well, the interesting part, I was reading one night, I got a text, when are you going to write a book? Thanking me for the way I had helped them. They changed their own life. I know that. I didn't change their life. I gave them words. I gave them environment. They decided, they made the choice to be different. And I said, I'm not real interested in writing the book. Thank you, though, for your comments. I went back to the book I was reading, and it was John F. Kennedy's quote. As I turned the page, it said, if not who, if not you, who, if not now, when? And I went, okay, God, I got it. I'm writing a book. And I started doing research. I did research for a couple of years, and I invested in going to speak with neuroscientists, looking at brain scans. By the way, your brain in gratitude fires and wires faster and better and is more creative than your brain on negativity. Just letting you know. Also, as I did this research, as I wrote, I asked doctors, is this correct? Because I don't have a PhD in neuroscience or psychology. I'm not a clinical psychologist. Yet I can tell you, with a brother and sister having brain tumors and desiring to help them, they're the ones that spurred me on to even start learning about the brain at all. I just wanted to know how to help them. And as much as you can learn from books, it's kind of like wars. I could study wars from reading books. Yet there is nothing like being in a foxhole with enemy fire coming at you. You learn a whole lot more. And being in that environment with two siblings having brain tumors, talking with doctors, one of them in a coma for over 4 months, and we wouldn't pull the plug, thank God, because he lived on for a long time later. It was studying the brain that helped us make those decisions on how we could help them, help other people. So I wanted to know about mindset. What is it that makes up our mindset? And this is what the book is about, getting your mindset to change so you can get to a better story. And it's little increments, like those two rivers coming together. I went to my friend Google again, and over 150 mindsets came up. I read books. Well, Carol Dweck's the only one that really wrote a book about mindset, and she only covered 2 of them, fixed versus growth. And the more study I did, and then of course, calling very successful people, asking them questions, I determined from the 150 sifting through that there were 14, 7 that limit us and 7 that liberate us. And these 14 mindsets I write about in the book. I also say, if you desire to go from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, because we definitely want all the liberating ones and not the limiting ones, well, give you steps, 4 to 5 steps that you can do on a daily basis to help set your mindset. And a lot of people think, oh, I have an abundant mindset. Yet when they read about what an abundant mindset is and what a scarcity mindset is, they realize that many areas of their life, they are living in scarcity and they don't even realize it. One thing that is so important for me to tell you is we have an assessment. Now, it's a fun assessment. I haven't at this point had any clinical psychologist go check. Yes, everything is absolutely 100% correct. Yet it will tell you by answering questions. And it's a question and you mark all that apply. And then you get the free assessment. It gives you what percentage is growth, what percentage is fixed, what a percentage is abundant versus scarcity, grateful versus entitlement. It's quite fun to have people take this. Well, Tony took it, Tony DeCello, my husband, and he looked at it and he goes, man, this thing is like, I think it's spot on. Of course, my sister said, I don't think it shows that I'm grateful enough. And I went, I think it's spot on. So you can have fun with it, right? And I've had about 80% say that it is spot on. 20% thought it was about 80% spot on. I don't know. Take it and figure it out yourself, right? What I can tell you, though, that in business, people talk about your attitude, and attitude is different than mindset. Mindset is your subconscious mind living out the stories you've been telling it and the way that you have trained it to be. Your attitude, you can change like that because it's conscious. So let's say that you have a judgmental mindset and you want to tell somebody that. Your attitude will determine how you tell it. So see, you can be judgmental and say it in a very kind and giving feedback in a way that they accept it. That's available, not because of your mindset, because of your attitude being positive and your values being caring of people. So that's why I say get the book, because all of this is going to intertwine. It's one model, easy to follow. Every chapter has a portion of the, and it gives you ideas. And pretty soon, like these two rivers, you start forging in to the mighty Amazon, living the life that you so deserve, that I would love for you. I'm giving you the same types of things that I did, selling 104 homes my first year, coming up with a buyer's agent, first one, we didn't even know what to call them, coming up with an assistant way back when, which they called her a secretary. Nobody had ever had one. And this Tony and I went back through all the things that we had done. It was like one thing after another, just coming up with different ideas. How do you do that? It starts with your mindset. And that's what I desire for you. It actually starts with your thoughts, goes to your beliefs, your values, your emotions. Then it goes to your mindset, your perspective, your words, your character, your goals, and it just keeps building one upon another. And as you go through these bricks of the triangle, you become more. So I'm going to show you, I don't know, this was to add value to you. And if I did, I trust that you'll want to know more and become more yourself. And in order to do that, obviously buy the book. No, it's not coming out till who knows when, at least October. And that's a long time to wait. Yet to get in the pre-order assures that you'll get the book, right? And so you can scan the QR code. That's the way the book looks. John Maxwell is helping with it, publish it, doing the forward for me. He's been a mentor of mine for 25 years. And he definitely has taught me a lot and got me outside my comfort zone. So I trust that you'll like it. I'd like to hear some ahas though before we leave. And I know we've got a few minutes. I've got 12:45 in my time. It's 1:45 yours. Do we have, you asked me to save about 10 to 15 minutes, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Yes, this was absolutely perfect. And I hadn't seen the cover, Dianna. I love it.
Good. I'm glad. That was
Oh my
napkin, and Nicole designed it for me. And then the publisher's person put the little highlights in it. So
I love it.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Love it. Love it. Okay. I put the link in the chat also, you guys, so you can either scan the QR code to pre-order and or just click the link in the chat. But I wanted to save a few minutes. That was so great. I mean, I have 3 pages of notes. So other than me, let's hear if someone would share an aha or something that really resonated with them, or a question that you have while we're lucky enough to have a couple of extra minutes with Dianna. And you can just unmute and ask or share and go right on ahead.
Hey, Dianna, this is Cheryl McDonald.
Hey, Cheryl.
Just on a side note, I miss you terribly.
I miss too. I'm telling you.
Michelle Anderson is my coach.
Great, great lady.
She is. And I think the thing that got to me is really what has my comfort zone gotten me, which is a conversation I've been having with Michelle a lot lately. My husband died 2 years ago from COVID. And thank you. And I have been living in this newly created comfort zone. Because I can live the life that I want because of the investments that my husband and I made. Yet I'm only 61 years old, and I know that there's a world that's still out there for me. So what you did for me today was you made me ask the question, what has my comfort zone gotten me? And it has, well, I may be able to live a life. It has not gotten me the life that I want or desire to have. because I have gotten very comfortable with coaching from home and walking my dogs. So,
Cheryl, first of all, thank you for sharing that. That's challenging because, see, you didn't choose different. Different chose you. I mean, let's face it. It happens to all of us sometimes. Different chooses us. And when different chooses us, it is so easy to get inside that cocoon. And I just want you to know that this cocoon, and we all do it, you have to grieve. So don't beat yourself up for anything that happened. You had to go into that cocoon. Human beings have to have that. But I am telling you that your cocoon has opened today. That you are going to fly high like a butterfly, soaring as high as you desire. And when you go on that walk, I desire, you can do whatever you do. It's your choice. I'm gonna actually ask, as you go out, you think of everything that you're thankful for. And as you turn around to come back home, you give gratitude for everything that you have thought of. And then you think of something that you can do that day that will be outside your comfort zone. Maybe it's that you have something different for dinner. Maybe it's, I mean, just little things. It doesn't have to be big. Maybe it's that you make one extra call. Maybe you write one extra thank you card. Something, because those little tiny things don't go, oh, I'm going to do this. Because the brain doesn't allow that. Just do little incremental things to build up to making certain that cocoon, just like the butterfly has to go through all that stuff through his metamorphosis to fly. And you will too. And you've been going through it. So we just release you today.
I appreciate that. And I want to let you know that it wasn't a mistake that this was today. Today is my wedding anniversary.
That touches my heart.
And I wanted to be here with you. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And I'm glad that we could celebrate with you. See, I believe the term coincidence is just God wanting to remain anonymous.
Yeah, I like that.
So here we are today with Cheryl, who's 61, celebrating her anniversary. And it will be a new anniversary for you because it will be the day that you left your cocoon to fly. So now we'll celebrate it in a different way.
Yep. Thank you very much. And thanks, Dana, for having her.
Yeah.
My pleasure. Thanks, Cheryl. That was great. Thank you for sharing that so much. Anybody else have a question and or an aha from today, what you heard?
Yes, Diana, I really appreciate being here and sharing. If you can dwell on the negative, then you can also spend that same energy and dwell on the positive. That was a big aha for me, yet the question that leads into that is that maybe I feel like I'm more negative than my spouse. And what words of wisdom would you have to share with them to look at and dwell more on the positive side rather than a negative side? Not saying she's a negative person, just saying that we all have those moments, and I'd love to help her through that.
Well, first of all, congratulations that you desire to help someone. And when we talk about that, it's just human. We're human beings. And so we go through all of that and we desire to help, which means that you love her very much. And I commend that. So I would say, you know what, we had this talk today on mindset and being positive, and we were challenged to think more positive thoughts. And so I'm going to take on the challenge that she gave me, and I need your help. So she said, you get somebody that you love to help you and you help them. They have to opt in and be as committed as I am. So I'm going to ask you to commit with me that every time I have a negative thought, you can snap your fingers, or if I'm being negative, you can go like that and say, let's change. And I'm going to do the same for you. Or if you snap your fingers first, we'll keep like a little scorecard, and whoever wins at the end of the week gets to choose where we go out for dinner. Have some fun with it and have her help you as you help her. And together you both become different, which is better.
Thank you. Beautiful answer.
No, thank you. I appreciate the question. It was a great question.
That was a great answer. Yeah, Dion said, gonna try that with my daughter.
It's
I
so
love
much
that.
fun. It's great. Yes.
Love it. Great question, Derek. I think we have time for about one or two more. Does anybody else want to share an aha or have a question for Dianna?
Dianna, this isn't a aha, this is a question. So thank you for being here with us today. I loved the liberating and the limiting perspective. And my question for you is, what's it look like to move a team as fast as possible from limiting mindset to liberating mindset?
Good
Oh,
question,
That's
Sarah.
a great
Wow.
question. I love it. First of all, I would have everyone do the assessment. And the assessment is at becomingmorebook.com/resource. Come on, help me out, Nicole. She's our tech gal here.
Nicole, you can put it in the chat.
Yes, let me get that live for us. It'll be /assessment. So it'll be becomingmorebook.com/assessment.
Dianna, is that live? Can they take it before they get the book?
Only for you guys. Don't start.
Oh,
Dana, it's only because I love you.
thank you.
Tell
Okay,
you that, but
perfect.
please don't go telling everybody about that yet. Right?
Okay, so special just for you guys for being on.
Yes. Okay. So I would have them do that. And that a lot of them, if it shows limiting, will gripe. Just so you know. And you say, I know, it seems like everybody comes out. Maybe she just wants us to change more, right? And you just blame it on, just have fun with it. And yet think about each person, because you're all going to be different, especially around that abundance and scarcity. One thing that we can do is to help people with their thinking. Many agents say there's no listings to be found. Yeah. Somebody listed a home yesterday. There are listings to be found because see, this part of our brain right back here, reticular activating system, it's called the RAS for short. The RAS, whatever you tell it, whatever story you make up, it searches to make your story correct because the RAS wants you to look good and be right. It always wants to be right. So it will only show you what allows you to be right. If you say, oh, that person doesn't like me, it will only show you things that that person does, solidifying the fact they don't like you. If you say there's no listings to be found, somebody could be standing next to you in the store talking about listing their home and you will not hear it because your reticular activating system says they don't want to hear that. Don't let it in. Much like a mother who has a baby doesn't hear a sound in the world other than that baby can whimper in the other room and she wakes up instantly because she hears it. Why? Because the RAS knows that that baby is important to her. That's why we've got to train our brains what it is that we desire and tell our brain stories of what we desire to have happen, because the old self-fulfilling prophecy is somewhat true, right? It doesn't mean that everything in your life you made happen. That's not true. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's how we react to everything that happens in our life, right? Some things.
Oh, Amy, I think Amy, you're accidentally sharing your.
I love that. No, I think.
Oh, unless you meant to share.
Yeah, no, some things will always be completely out of our hands. It is one of the most helpless and hopeless feelings to experience. You know why I think we get those? Because I think every time in our life, Amy, thank you for putting this up. I believe that we have to choose faith or fear. Every single moment of our life, even though we do not realize that we are choosing faith or fear. Fear that we don't have enough listings, fear that we're going to miss an opportunity. Let me tell you, you never miss an opportunity. You never lose an opportunity because somebody else finds it. The opportunity is never lost. Somebody found it. It just wasn't you because maybe you weren't looking hard enough for it, right? Every one of us have things happen to us. And I believe at that point, we get to choose faith over fear. And Cheryl, back to you. My son lost his wife due to cancer. And he was, I believe, 42 at the time. And I remember talking about faith over fear and watching him go through many challenges, as I'm sure you have. And I just told him at one point, he goes, "What do I do?" I said, "Okay, here's what you do. You breathe in and you breathe out. And then you breathe in and then you breathe out. And that's all I want you to concentrate on for the next day. And if you decide to do a few other things, that's okay too." And sometimes that's what we need. When we're forced into something that we did not choose, that is not of our liking, that makes us cry uncontrollably, all we can do sometimes is breathe in and then breathe out. Handwrite, do not type. Handwrite a new story. Handwriting allows that to go into the brain much faster and it solidifies in the brain. So as you're handwriting out a new story, you're already telling your brain what it is you desire, what it is you expect, and you're asking your brain to help you. And then you got to have faith that you can make it happen. So I don't know who asked that question. I apologize. From the limiting to liberating with the team. I can.
Sarah.
Who was it?
Sarah.
Tara. Tara, it's a great question. Do the assessment, discuss the assessment, buy the book and go through it as a book club. Right now, though, if I'm definitely, I don't want to put words in Dana's mouth or make her feel obligated, but we could do something in regards to where is your mindset and how do you change it? And just take a couple of mindsets, maybe a 30-minute call sometime and say, this is
great.
This one to that one. So we can do things like that if you desire. Okay. Totally up to you guys, what it is I can help with. It's hard to say exactly how to change until we know what it is that we want to change. That every one of them can be changed. I can tell you that. Okay.
I love that. Thank you, Dianna. And I also wrote down when you were saying about write the new story, write the new story as a team, take the assessment, understand that in a group. And then I wrote down, write the new story as a team. So thank you for that.
Yes, because see, if your team doesn't have a story, how do you know really what you stand for? You can have the mission, vision, value, belief, and perspectives, which we have to have as leaders and as a team. Yet, do you have a team story? We used to have a magazine that we did as a realtor. It was our own magazine, the Kokoszka Group, and on the back was our Kokoszka Group story. And everyone had to learn the story and be able to tell the story in a way that was compelling.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
that's a great idea to do that as a team. I love that. I know we're 1 minute past, but I also know, gosh, I can't say but with Dianna on here. And I also know how much Stephanie Kellerman loves Dianna. Did you have an aha, Steph, you want to share really quickly before we hop off?
Just a thank you. Dianna, I have done bold 7 times, and each time, it has changed my life in a different way because I'm always in a different place. And when you talk about those letters, I've moved my life forward so much in the times. I didn't accomplish everything in each letter, but my life just changed dramatically from year to year that I took that and wrote those letters. And so just a big aha for me today, that tonight or tomorrow I'm going to write my 5-year letter and my 10-year letter and stash that away to look at when that time comes. And just a big thank you. You've changed a lot of lives and certainly mine.
Well, I've got to tell you, Stephanie, that warms my heart because that's what I've wanted to do I think a leader always serves the people to help them become the very best version of themselves. And that's what I want. By the way, I love that cow picture in the back.
Oh, thank you. That's my office.
That is absolutely great. And I do want to say one thing, Dana, about the word but. But is okay to use if you desire to negate something. Just don't use it after a compliment.
Right.
It has been so much fun to be with all of you. I do love and miss every single one of you every day. I mean, I talk about Keller Williams and the love I have for the agents and for our industry as a whole, because the outside world desires to attack realtors, it seems like you don't make your money. I, for one, want you to know what you go through. I've lived it. You deserve every dollar that you make and then some. And so don't ever forget that. And if you don't have that belief, borrow my belief in you until you get your own. And with that, I'll let you go. Thank you so
I
much.
love it. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Dianna.
Bye-bye.
Thank
See
you.
ya.
It was wonderful. Thank you. Thanks,
Thanks.
everybody.
Buy
Have
the
a great
book.
day.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Yes, buy the book.